All right, so TikTok, huh? I bet you've at least heard about this whole thing, right?
Yeah, it's been all over the place.
Definitely hard to miss. Presidential orders, app stores going crazy, even the Senate jumped in on this one.
Definitely not your everyday tech news story.
Yeah, so today we're going to do a deep dive, look at all the stuff you sent us on TikTok and what the U.S. government's been doing about it.
Should be interesting. This whole thing's like a crazy mix of tech and politics and national security.
And global economics too, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All happening at the same time.
Wild.
Yeah.
Seriously, it feels like some kind of political thriller or something.
Yeah, I can see that.
So just from glancing at what you sent, it seems like the main thing is whether TikTok can cut a deal with President Trump.
Yeah, that's the big question.
And even more, like, why does it even matter so much?
That's the thing. Okay, so to really get this, we got to rewind a little.
Okay, back it up.
The whole thing starts with people getting worried about TikTok's parent company, ByteDance,
Right, by chance.
which is, based in China. Uh-huh.
And that's what set off all these alarm bells in Washington
I can imagine.
about data security. Like, what if all this user data ends up in the Chinese government's hands?
So red flags going up about where our data is going. Makes sense. What did the U.S. government actually do about all this?
Well, let me tell you, things escalated pretty quickly. President Trump just went and issued an executive order.
An executive order that's what, like a direct order from the president himself?
Exactly. Basically, he said TikTok was getting banned in the U.S. unless they sold the whole thing to an American company.
Whoa, a straight up ban. That's a huge move, wasn't it?
Big time.
What was the reaction to that? Did everyone just roll over?
Oh, no, no, no. TikTok fought back
Or
hard.
they weren't just going to take that lying down, right?
They were like, hold on, we've got over 100 million users here in the U.S., and we're not just handing over their data to China.
Yeah, over 100 million users. That's a lot of people.
It is. And they even made a point of saying that all their data is stored right here on U.S. servers. Smart move.
With backups in Singapore, just in case.
So trying to show they were playing by the rules.
Exactly. But, even with all those reassurances,
The security worries didn't just vanish, did they?
nope, not at all. And actually, your sources really dig into some specific things that U.S. officials were worried about.
Okay, getting into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, so one report actually talks about how some security researchers found vulnerabilities in TikTok.
Vulnerabilities mean like security holes.
Yeah, basically, like ways hackers could have messed with user data or even gotten access to personal info.
Ooh, that's not good.
Not good at all. And then another source talks about how TikTok collects a ton of data just by default.
Right, TikTok and data collection, that's a whole other can of worms.
Totally. And
Right.
that raised a bunch of questions about how all that data could be used, even if it wasn't being sent straight to the Chinese government.
Right, because even if they're not directly handing it over, what's to stop them from finding other ways to use it?
Right. Exactly. So you've got these real security vulnerabilities, serious data privacy issues, all coming to light.
And then what? What happened next in this whole back and forth?
Well, then things got even more complicated when the Senate decided to get involved.
Oh, great. Bring more people into this.
Right. Your sources actually talk about this group of senators from both parties who weren't so sure about the president's whole ban thing.
Oh, so it wasn't just a one-sided thing?
No, not at all. They basically argued that a total ban might be going too far, like it was an overreach of executive power.
Too much power for the president, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they thought there might be, less drastic ways to handle those security concerns.
Interesting. So even within the government, there was disagreement on how to deal with this whole TikTok thing.
Definitely. It wasn't just a simple Republicans versus Democrats situation. There was genuine concern about, setting a precedent.
Oh, yeah, a precedent. Like, if the government could just ban TikTok, what's stopping them from banning other apps down the line?
Exactly. And some of your sources even bring up the First Amendment. Like, does this mess with freedom of expression online?
Yeah, that's a whole other debate. So we've got a lot of pushback against this ban. Did any of it work?
Well, TikTok did end up getting a temporary break.
Temporary, huh? Like a pause button.
Pretty much. They managed to strike a deal where Oracle, a U.S. tech company, would become a partner and handle all of TikTok's U.S. user data.
Ah, so bring in an American company to, keep an eye on things.
Right. And that seemed to calm the White House down, at least for a little while.
So a Band-Aid solution.
Mm.
But it sounds like this whole thing brought up some really big, important questions that didn't just disappear.
Oh, absolutely. And your sources point out some really crucial things about the global impact of all this.
Global impact, huh? Bigger than just the U.S.
Way bigger. I mean, think about it. If the U.S. can ban TikTok, What's to stop other countries from doing the same thing to American companies?
Oh, I see. It sets a kind of like a standard, a model for other governments to follow.
Exactly, like a blueprint for how to control what people see and do online.
And suddenly, governments all over the world could be saying, okay, this is how we control online content.
Right, and then there's another point your sources bring up, the economic impact of all this.
Right, because it's not just about politics, is it?
Nope. You've got all these creators, businesses, everyday users, people who depend on TikTok for their jobs, their income.
Yeah, real people with real lives.
Exactly. Banning it wouldn't just be a political statement, it would have a real impact on their lives.
That's a good point. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Was this just a temporary fix? Just putting off a bigger fight? What's next for TikTok? What about all the other apps that are popular worldwide?
It's like a whole new chapter in the story of how governments and these huge online platforms are going to interact.
It's a lot to think about. This whole thing's really got me wondering, what does this mean for the balance of power, between governments and these massive online platforms that everyone uses?
Huge questions, and I don't think we have all the answers yet.
We're going to have to keep watching this one, that's for sure. Thanks for diving into this with me.
Anytime. This is definitely a fascinating one.
You're telling me? All right, until next time, everyone, keep those brains buzzing.
Stay curious.